What's up everybody, Jason from Jason's Exotic Reptiles. Today we're going back to the basics and we're going to talk about foundation morphs. I get asked questions all the time, where should I start, what should I have, where's my foundation, and this is what we're going to address in this video today. When somebody messages me, they're looking to add a snake to their group, I always try to assess where they are in their current breeding projects or where they are in their just level of reptile keeping. Are you a new breeder? Are you somebody who is just a new keeper and you don't have any animals at all? Are you an established breeder or keeper and you have a whole bunch of stuff and you're just looking to add select pieces? There are foundation morphs within Boas that I think every breeder should have if they're looking to expand. Whether they want to turn this into a hobby business or a full-scale business, there is a foundation that is built and then everything else funnels from that foundation. So it put a little thought into this video of what is missing and what should people have in their group. And that's what we're going to talk about here today. The first question I usually ask people is, what's your budget and what do you like? This generally applies to those newer keepers and breeders because they're still trying to figure out what's going on in the world. The first set we're going to dive into are the incomplete dominant and dominant morphs within Boas. And the one that I'm going to throw a curveball at right now is Fire. I think Fire has gone to a really reasonable price point and it's somewhat untapped. Fire is certainly going to be a foundation. I would say it's a newer foundation animal because the prices have recently dropped to a more attainable price range. Now, years ago, 2-3 years ago, these were at least a couple $1,000s or at least over $1,000, and I wouldn't necessarily call that a foundation. But now that they're in that sub $500 range, you can get really pretty animals, and Fire is going to build on a lot of these morph combos. Fire itself, people may not like, but Fire, once you add to combos, has some untapped potential. This is a way that you can elevate your foundation without reaching too expensive, but is also still untapped. Now, true foundation animals, I'm going to say, are things like a Hypo and a Motley. Both of these are just pure foundation. If you don't have Hypo, then you don't have Motley, at least in some type of a combo. Let's say Hypo Fire, Motley Fire. Those are a little bit more expensive, but if you don't have Hypo and Motley in your group somewhere, you need to get it. So Hypo and Motley, you really want to get some extra stretch on your dollar, get a Hypo Motley. These are super affordable right now because Hypo and Motley are allelic. You breed a Hypo Motley to a normal or really anything, then it's going to give you half Hypos, half Motleys. You're reproducing some valuable babies. Now, yeah, you're not going to be getting $10,000 a piece for them, but you're reproducing some highly in-demand babies right from the start. And that's what's important about this foundation is you're going to be making babies that are going to be valuable and important to keepers and breeders. And that's why Hypo Motley together, that allelic combination is important. Or at the very least, get a Hypo, get a Motley, pair it with something else, get a combo. They're still very affordable right now. Another one that's kind of a curveball is Arabesque. Now, Arabesque has been around for a long time, but it's still a little bit untapped. It flew under the radar for a long time, and it's still flying under the radar. So Arabesque is somewhere where you can add a lot of value to the boa constrictor group and things that are not out there, just morph combos that are purely untapped because for some reason, Arabesque was just forgotten about for a long time. People just didn't have them around. So Arabesque, if you can get a nice Arabesque, especially if you can get a Hypo Arabesque or some type of Arabesque combo, you can get it for under $500 and really add a lot of value to your collection and your breeding groups. Another one I'm going to throw in is that pure foundation is going to be Aztec. Now, Aztec is certainly getting a little bit more popular now. If you went back 2 years ago, you couldn't find a lot of Aztecs out there. They certainly were there, but they're a lot more prominent in the market now because it gives you a lot of really cool visual effect with an Aztec for a very affordable price. You have to remember that your foundation is going to be that under $300, $400, $500 price range for a lot of keepers. If you are a breeder, this is where you're going to get the majority of your sales coming from. You don't want to be sitting on 500 animals because everything you produce is $10,000 a piece. You want to be able to move. You want to be able to get that customers. And at least for me, I want to keep people happy with reptiles. And not everybody who wants to get a reptile is looking for that $1,000 plus. You get into these foundation animals, no matter what you put them to, you can build those combos and you're going to be able to make cool stuff with it. Another one that I think is pure foundation is Jungle. Jungle is something that is going to continue to be a market force. It's always going to be in there, and they're all price stable at this point. Now, if you want to dive into something a little bit more money, but is also a fantastic foundation, and maybe still has that untapped potential or his ability to sell, is I would say Inca and IMG. Both of those not together in an animal, and Inca IMG would be awesome, but now you're reaching into price range and you're going to look at some, you could get a loss when you start getting into these. But IMG, everybody likes a black boa. And when you get into that IMG, yes, it is a little bit more money than the $500 range. I think it's going to come down a little bit, but it's hard to get hurt on a pure base Inca or IMG. So both of those I think are really good buys right now. They're pretty price stable. Inca's a little bit less price stable than IMG right now, mainly because Inca is newer. There's not a lot of them. However, I think Inca right now in 2025, this is early 2025 when we're making this video, Inca is something that's going to be a dominant market force right now in terms of boa morphs. And if you don't have Inca, right now is certainly a time to buy it, because I think prices are going to go up over the next couple years, or they're at least going to be very stable. All it takes to flip a market is somebody to make a new morph that blows it up. And that brings us to the recessives. So if you go back to 2022, maybe it was 2021 when I made this video, I told you blood, I think, is a foundation that if you don't have blood, you need to have it. It's something that is always pretty price stable at this point. You can get beautiful animals under 500. If you want to get some combos a little bit over 500, I think blood is still very untapped in terms of what morphs are coming out. Albino blood certainly brought the temperature up on those, both T positive and T negative albino bloods. T negative albino bloods really increased the demand. T positive albino bloods were already in the works. I think now it brings us to my second kind of foundation animal for the recessives, is I feel that T positive blood stuff, or T positives in general, need to be the foundation of your next recessive pieces. Now you have blood, but you need to bring in some T positive element. Doesn't need to have blood with it, but what I'm starting to see is people saw blood T negative stuff, and then they started experimenting with blood T positive stuff. So I think T positive in general is something you need to get into. Specifically the Nicaraguan T positives, your Honduran T positives, your Costa Rican T positives, those non-VPI T positives are going to start to pick up. I think VPI is certainly a foundation, but it's kind of going on this downshift right now. It's actually really price stable. If you got VPI 3-4 years ago, you were paying a lot of money, and it kind of got flooded because everybody liked it. It's a beautiful animal, but prices went up. Everybody bought it, bred it. They were all following the crowd, and then it dropped way down. I think VPI T positive is something that is a foundation, but if I were to pick between one of the T positives right now, I would personally go for the Nicaraguan T positive, those Burke, Nicaraguan, Central American, Platinum. Again, they're all the same line. Just pick one you like and go for it. They're all compatible. They just happen to fall under different names right now, but it's all the same line of T positive. So I'd say that's a good one. And this can't be a recessive foundation without some line of T negative albino. Personally, I would pick Sharp. I have both Sharp and Cal, but if I had to pick one today, because I have a limited size and what I can keep, or I have limited budget, I would personally lean towards Sharp albino, predominantly because I can do different stuff with Sharp albino. I can make paradigms, I can make prodigy, I can mix it with different stuff that I don't need to be limited to just Sharp albino. So for that reason, I would pick Sharp albino as a T negative base. Nothing wrong with Cal. There's beautiful Cal animals out there and they do different stuff, but just out of those two, I would pick a Sharp albino. We're talking purely foundation. If you can buy them both, get them both, but I would personally stick with Sharp if you can only pick one or the other. The next recessive that I think is a foundation, is going to become more of a foundation than ever, is Leopard. Now, Leopard is something, if you have a limited budget, and this is assuming you can buy a foundation of all this stuff, but personally, if I could pick, only a couple recessives, or I could pick only a couple incomplete dominants, Leopard would be in there. Leopard gives you this incredible visual effect on this recessive animal, and you don't really have a lot going on. It's just a leopard, and it gives you this crazy pattern, totally different from a normal boa morph, and the prices are super stable right now. So leopard is something you can get a really beautiful one somewhere between $400 to sometimes even cheaper, $350, all the way up to maybe $800 for a leopard. You can usually get combos of these too, but leopard as a base morph is just a beautiful visual effect. You're gonna get this amazing looking animal, and it's going to give you just this animal that if you produce more of, you're going to be able to sell a lot of these babies because it's such a visual effect for an inexpensive price compared to some other things. It's no combo to make this. It's just leopard, which is awesome. So I think leopard is something that you should have as a foundation animal. If you guys want my super spicy pick, I'm going to throw Mayan into the mix. Now, Mayan is brand new. It's mine. I have to throw it in. I cannot not throw it in. I think there's going to be a whole new market made with this Mayan morph. So if you want a spicy pick, and that Thai spicy pick, you got to get Mayan because it's just an untapped market. Literally, I'm the only one who has it, and I haven't outcrossed it a lot. So actually, this is the first year I've outcrossed it. If I don't make babies this year, there are no outcrosses of Mayan that I'm aware of, and you can get a Mayan for fairly inexpensive. So I'm going to throw that Thai spicy pick as being the Mayan. Drop me a comment down below. Do you agree with these picks? I want to know where your foundation morphs. Do you agree with everything I said, nothing I said? Let me hear from you. Till next video, let's keep it moving.